all-time leader in completion percentage, a 9-time Pro Bowler who also happens to have a Super Bowl MVP on his resume. He is none other than Saints quarterback Drew Brees here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Drew?
Doing well, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing fine. It's been a long time since we chatted. How's the family?
They're doing well. Kids are getting big. Never a dull moment, as you know.
Yes.
But no, it's been good.
What are their ages now? How old are they now?
So the three boys are 6, 5, and 3, and the little girl is 1.
You added a
So the boys.
I missed that one. You added the girl.
Yeah.
You added the girl to the mix. Wow.
Yeah, she's definitely added a different dynamic. It's a pretty special relationship between father and daughter, and the boys take pretty good care of her.
Yeah. Well, she'll have three. She'll have 3 older brothers guarding her, having her back her whole life. I added I added a 2-year-old to the 7 and the 4, 2 boys. My wife and I had this little girl, and I'm wrapped. It's a totally different situation, Drew. Totally.
It really is. I mean, I'm finding that out, but the last 3 months especially, because she's starting to walk and talk, and she gives you that look, and you're just going, man, what did I get myself into here? But, man, it's special.
Well, so the question is how do you balance that? Which is because you know, I ask that all the time of any quarterback with kids, and you know, you have half of what Phillip Rivers has done. God bless him. But how do you balance this, Drew?
You know, that's the toughest part, especially as the kids grow, because you know, there's so many cool things that they're doing, and kind of as they develop, and you know, every day it's like something different. And you know, you want to be there for that stuff, and obviously during the season it's very tough because so much of your time is devoted to you know, preparation for each and every game. But I can say this, like I try to really structure my schedule around the kids, you know, what they're doing, when they're getting out of school, when they're going to bed. And so it's basically during the week, it's, you know, getting home in time to read them a book before they go to bed, maybe wrestle a little bit. But really, you know, kind of Monday evenings, Tuesday evenings, you get to spend more time with them, and then maybe Saturdays for home games. But yeah, it's tough. But that's what I look forward to most. I mean, it's really what drives me throughout the day is, you know, I got to get my work done at the facility during the day so I can have just that, even if it's just a moment with them at night.
Drew Brees, Saints quarterback, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's get to the football aspect of your life. 4-7 is clearly not what you had hoped to be post Thanksgiving. How are you dealing with the fact of being 3 games under 500 entering December?
Well, it's tough, you know, and it's been a kind of a streaky season, I'd say. You know, we started off 1-4, and then we won 3 straight to get back to 4-4, and then obviously the last 3 games have been disappointing because we felt like we were in a position to, you know, kind of separate ourselves a little bit and creep up the division and, you know, see what happens. You know, obviously Carolina's making, you know, they're playing about as well as anybody right now, sitting at 11-0, and we get to play those guys this week. So, I mean, each week's a new week. It's a new opportunity. It's a new challenge. We know the type of game this is going to be with those guys. You know, we have battles with Carolina twice a year, and I imagine this game's going to be no different. I know they have a lot to play for, as do we. There's a lot of pride, and I think there's a lot of growth left on our team to kind of establish here as this year continues on. And listen, you never know what can happen, but bottom line is we can certainly play much better than we have the last 3 weeks, and especially the way we played yesterday against the Texans.
Yeah, I mean, you missed the other Carolina game. That was the one game that you missed. It was Luke McCown under the controls of the offense there. So what are you expecting to see? I assume it's too early on in the week for you to have started really checking out the film on this team. But what are you expecting to see from this team after perhaps sitting down just like the rest of America and watching them play on Thanksgiving, Drew?
Yeah. Well, they're playing very, very well in all phases. I think defensively, they've been one of the best defenses here for the last 4 or 5 years, consistent, you know, and really at every position group, from their D-line to their linebackers to their secondary. I have a lot of respect for Sean McDermott and Ron Rivera and that defensive scheme and, you know, what they do, you know, from week to week in regards to game planning for the opponents. You know, I know there's always new wrinkles whenever we play them. You know, divisional opponents, there's a lot of familiarity, and yet, you got to find those things that are going to, be a little bit different, something they haven't seen, for both sides of the ball. So it's always a great challenge for us, and they're playing with a lot of momentum, a lot of confidence right now. So we got to put together our best plan and execute our best game thus far if we want to have a chance.
And with you and this team moving forward, how often do you think about the last phase of your career as you turn 37 in January, and we're talking all about Peyton Manning this, Peyton Manning that, and you see somebody like even Brett Favre, a first ballot Hall of Famer like you're going to be one day. I can say these things, Drew. You don't have to react. And seeing him in a spot where obviously things weren't going so well for him in his end game scenario in Green Bay, but it did all come out smelling like a rose in that old spot. Do you at all think about that for your career, Drew?
I don't. I think especially during the season, you're just so wrapped up and locked in with what's going on with your team, and just you're trying to win games and put yourself in position to make it to the postseason. And it's kind of like every off season, when you start training again, you kind of set your goals towards where you want to be when the season starts, and maybe you start thinking long term, like, okay, I think I can. This is kind of my goal that I'm setting for how long I like to play or what have you. I think I've gone through stages throughout my career where you just kind of set benchmarks. When I first got in the league, it was, man, I'm just trying to be a starter. I just want to be a starting quarterback in the league. And then once you establish that, you're like, I think I can be a Pro Bowl player. I'd like to, accomplish that. And then you do that, and then it's, well, man, if I could play 10 years, wouldn't that be something? And then you get to 10 years, and it's, well, I want to make it to 35. And once you make it to 35, it's kind of like, well, what's next? I mean, you see a guy like Matt Hasselbeck playing the way he's playing, age 40, stepping in for Andrew Luck, 4-0 for the Colts right now. So that's, you look around, Tom Brady's playing at an extremely high level. It can certainly be done. I think in this day and age, you can really push the envelope in regards to the age at which you can play, because I think just physiologically it's possible you can do things to, listen, you got to have a little bit of, God's grace on you, in regard to injury and some of those other things. But as long as you're having fun and playing at a high level, why not play this game as long as you can?
Drew Brees joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. And I know you're still involved in the Southern California, in the San Diego area as well. I'd love to get your thoughts on the fact that we might be seeing the final games for the San Diego Chargers in San Diego. It's entirely possible that this month is it for the Chargers in San Diego, Drew. I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, we spent some of the off season there. Obviously, still have a lot of friends and family there. And every time I go back there, I sense the feeling that it's a real possibility that they leave. I think the fan base kind of feels that way, and I don't know the inner workings, and I guess all the issues in regards to new stadium or not, but it sure looks like that is a very good possibility. When you look at the other teams, I guess Oakland maybe being one that's being thrown out there, in St. Louis, and I don't think it's going to happen in LA unless they have two teams, right?
That's what it sounds like.
Been stated by the league and others, so that leaves a pretty good possibility that San Diego might be one of them. I hate to see that, just obviously having played for the Chargers and being a part of that community and that kind of thing, that would be different. It would definitely be different, although a lot of people don't know that the Chargers actually got their start in L.A. back in the old AFL days.
Yeah, the L.A. Chargers, and then they went to San Diego, and then obviously you showed up coming out of Purdue, kid from Texas, going to Purdue, then stopping in San Diego, and then becoming essentially the mayor of New Orleans, where you had an excellent November for the Drew Brees Touchdowns for TRX Training Program, in which valuable athletic training resources for a high school in each of the cities, New York, Nashville, D.C., Houston, and New Orleans, got some help due to your touchdowns as you threw. What was this all about, Drew?
This was fun. So I'm involved with a company called Fitness Anywhere, and their product is the TRX suspension training system, which I actually used a lot during my rehabilitation for my shoulder way back when in 2005 and 6, and then just kind of made it part of my workout regimen, from then on. And so I have a great relationship with these guys, and they wanted to do something kind of through our foundation to help the communities of the teams that we were playing for the month of November. So basically what they committed to doing was donating 9 TRX suspension trainers to a local high school in the city that we were, playing against their team, times the number of touchdown passes we threw. So it actually ended up being we played the New York Giants and threw 7 touchdowns. So 7 times 9, 63 TRXs went to Brentwood High School. So that was probably a little bit more than they were expecting.
Yeah. Well, that there's no lack of fitness in that situation, Drew, after that went down.
They have no excuse to be in great shape.
Get their, 60 minutes of activity a day, that's for sure. Pearl Cohen High School in Nashville got 36. Ballou High School in Washington, D.C. got 18. Wheatley High School in Houston got 9. So
All in all, 126 TRX suspension trainers donated
to those schools. Again, just encouraging physical activity, promoting physical education programs in high school, which I think is extremely important, especially since I know politically that's been something of a debate over the last few years about possibly eliminating physical education programs from high schools in this country, which I think would be just idiotic to do. I think there's so many benefits to it. I think if you look at the statistics, that academic achievement actually increases with physical activity for kids in school. I think it sharpens their minds cognitively and in a bunch of other ways. And so that's something that should always be present in our schools from elementary on up, is physical education programs. And that's part of what this program is all about, is just to emphasize how important physical education is to our schools.
Well, Drew, I know you're always involved in things like that. If there's anything our show could ever do to help get the word out, I'm always for it. I hosted your charity events when you were in San Diego way back in the day when you were with the Chargers. So I've known this is the sort of thing that you've been all about for a very long time. So don't be a stranger is essentially what I'm saying to you.
Well, and thank you for your support in the past, and I appreciate you saying that. One thing I did forget to say was,
Sure.
Actually, as part of this, we are also have a sweepstakes for 2 people to win the opportunity to come to New Orleans to watch our last home game, which is December 27th against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So go to trxtraining.com/Drew Brees. You have a chance to win basically a trip for 2, 2-night stay, 2 tickets to the game,
Nice.
hotel, all covered. It'll be fun.
That's good stuff. Drew, you take care. Say hi to Brittany, and let's chat again soon, okay?
All right, Rich. Thank you.
You bet. That's Drew Brees, at Drew Brees on Twitter.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.